Welcome to Bits and Bobs, a virtual training collection by Kaleidoscope Youth Center. In this series, we dive headfirst into identities that don't get their fair share of the limelight. Hi there, my name is Amanda, and I use she/her pronouns.
And I'm Lane, and I use they/them pronouns. We have to walk before we run, so we're digging into some foundational concepts in this video. Up next, gender identity. Who knew there were more options than just boys and girls? I did, and now you do too.
This is The Gender Unicorn by Trans Student Educational Resources. According to Trans Student Educational Resources, queer and trans organizers have been making the distinction between gender identity, gender expression, sex, and attraction for decades. No one person or organization has created the concept. Similar gender mapping projects to the unicorn seem to have originated on social media sites such as Tumblr. This particular gender unicorn iteration was illustrated by Anna Moore and designed by Landon Pan, Eli Ehrlich, and many others. There's a PDF version of this image within this course platform, and you can find additional illustrations and explanations at transstudent.org/gender. Don't be fooled. This image is deceptively simple. The concepts of gender and gender identity are complicated, so it's okay if some of this feels confusing. We're actually going to start in the third row with sex assigned at birth. Our sex assigned at birth is the assignment and classification of people as male, female, or intersex based on a combination of anatomy, hormones, and chromosomes. When we're born, the doctor picks you up, tosses you around, and looks at you from different angles, and usually people are classified as either male or female. Most decisions about sex are based on external genitalia, and that's how we get the M or the F on our birth certificate. It's important to know, however, that because there are a combination of traits making up our biology, including hormones and chromosomes, it can be difficult to categorize someone as male or female. The term intersex means that someone has a combination of anatomy, hormones, and chromosomes that makes it difficult to categorize them as male or female, or that they have ambiguous external genitalia. This concept, of course, means that the argument there are only two sexes is scientifically false. You can find a whole module dedicated to intersex back on our main course page. At the top of the image, we start with gender identity. Gender identity is someone's internal sense of being male, female, neither of these, both, or another gender or genders. Everyone has a gender identity. Think about yours. For transgender people, their sex assigned at birth does not align with their internal sense of gender identity. This image does not include all gender identities. It includes the two that people are most familiar with and combines all other options under other genders. Admittedly, this is not ideal. However, if we were to include every other gender identity on the gender unicorn, this image would be 27 slides long rather than fitting neatly onto one image. The goal here was not to create or identify more labels for people to box themselves into, but to show that these options are infinite and always changing. We'll talk about a couple of other gender identities later in this course. You may have expected to be able to check a box for your gender identity, but notice that these aren't even boxes in the first place. They're arrows or spectrums. You can think of these like thermometers, from no degrees to a lot of degrees. You could think of the arrows as going from 0 on the left to 100% on the right. You could label your own gender identity by finding the right place for you and putting a dot, or by coloring in the line to the extent that fits your identity. The second component on the gender unicorn is gender expression, or presentation. Gender expression, or presentation, is the way in which someone shows their gender outwardly through clothing, hairstyle, voice, body shape, etc. These physical attributes are linked to stereotypes of masculinity and femininity. Transgender people might seek to make their gender expression, or how they look, align with their gender identity, or who they are, rather than their sex assigned at birth. Today I've marked my gender expression like this. In my work life, I feel best when I wear feminine clothing, wear makeup, and style my hair in a feminine way. I like to wear jewelry and paint my nails, and these are all traits that align with a feminine gender expression. However, I sometimes also enjoy dressing in clothing that's more masculine, or presenting in a way that might be more androgynous, or outside of the boundaries of masculinity and femininity. For this reason, I've marked all three lines. I also need to consider, though, that my body shape is seen as feminine, so that expression may always be there, even if I don't have control over it.
This is how I present my gender expression. I present mostly masculine and with other gender identities by wearing clothing that makes my shape more masculine looking. I also like to have big muscles, I cut my hair short, and use hormones to lower my voice.
The next two components of the gender unicorn refer to attraction. We're going to skip them for now, but you can find them in the longer demystifying course. Here is another way to look at the same concepts. GLSEN, a national education organization focused on supporting LGBTQ youth in K-12 schools, and Interact, a national organization focused on advocating for intersex youth, developed this gender triangle as an educational tool to highlight what they see as the main components that revolve around gender identity: our bodies, how we use our bodies to express ourselves, and how the world around us reads our bodies based on the cultural and social codes of our time and place. According to GLSEN and Interact, although ideas about gender are often imposed on our bodies, for example, body hair attributed to manhood or chest development to womanhood, these physical traits do not always inform our identity. Instead, assumptions are made because of how people interpret bodily characteristics. This is related to sex assigned at birth from the gender unicorn, in that when we're born, we're categorized according to our bodies. It's also related to what I described as parts of our gender expression that aren't controllable, like body shape. Body changes often happen through puberty, but can also happen through the use of medication, such as hormone replacement therapy. Trans people may use hormones to change the way that their body appears, but it's important to understand that there are lots of different reasons why a trans person might not use medication or might not go through what we call a physical transition. Expression is how people use their bodies to present themselves, including the way that they talk, mannerisms, how they interact with others, clothing and accessories, hairstyles, what activities they enjoy, and more. This is very similar to how the gender unicorn presented gender expression as well. Attribution is a concept that wasn't on the gender unicorn and describes the way that we are perceived by others. This can all change depending on who we're with, where we are, or the time period that we live in.
Case in point, this is different from expression because due to cultural and generational differences, others' interpretations of our bodies may not always match our intended expression or our internal sense of self. King Henry here thought he was serving masculinity, but today he'd just be serving time for all those wives he killed.
Gender identity is in the core of the triangle to demonstrate that gender identity is how you see yourself at your core. Everyone gets to decide their gender identity for themselves, and may also change over time. An important theme throughout the gender triangle is the reminder that other people will make assumptions about our genders no matter who we are inside or how we think we might be expressing ourselves. To look at this another way, we've been socialized to make assumptions about other people based on what their bodies look like, and unfortunately, those assumptions are often wrong. One of the most important things that you can do to create spaces of affirmation and belonging for other people in your life is to start unlearning what you thought you knew about gender. Check yourself when you make assumptions based on clothing, hairstyle, or body shape, and ask yourself why that assumption was made and how you can do better next time. I encourage you to print the PDF of the Gender Unicorn and the Gender Triangle found in these course materials and spend some time thinking about your own identity. Understanding yourself may enhance your understanding of others and help you work with LGBTQIA+ individuals. If you found this mini course helpful, check out some of our others on topics like sexual identity, asexuality, or intersex. Invite KYC out to facilitate a live training, and visit our website to learn more about our programs. Visit kycohio.org/donate to make a one-time donation, or join our Unity Circle. Your contributions help KYC continue to serve LGBTQIA+ young people in our community.